Hey everyone, this is Dan Bell, and this is my video tour of the Galleria at Erieview, located in Cleveland, Ohio, and the Eden Mall, located in Eden, North Carolina. So here we are getting a look at the sunset through the glass roof of the Galleria at Erieview. And what a lovely glow it had coming down into the mall area. This mall opened in 1987, and it never had an anchor. And because of that, the mall never really did that well. In 2005, they only had about 36 stores out of 66 retail spaces. Today, they only have 28 businesses inside, but a lot of the spaces have been renovated to add in bigger businesses. So there's a lot of offices in here, banks, there's a YMCA, and there's a few stores. There's a clothing store here. I think we saw maybe a couple of clothing stores, a travel agency, and some restaurants. But after 5 o'clock, this mall really becomes a ghost town. I think everything closes at 6, and it's really just a mall that serves its purpose as a place where downtown workers go to have their lunch break, and that's really all it does these days. It's not much going on here. Have you ever wondered what's inside of a mall plant? We're gonna find out right now. Let's go. So now you know, if you go to the mall and you part the tropical leaves, you'll see magic inside, deep inside those beautiful, green, lush mall plants. Here we are looking at the food court. This is the first floor level of the food court. And we're going to get an overhead view of the food court, which is actually quite striking. The food court is roped off at, I guess, 5 o'clock when all the food stands close down. But this mall primarily serves as a lunch place. So it's a daytime mall, Monday through Friday. I don't know what the crowds look like here on the weekends. I was here at the mall probably around 7 o'clock, but I just couldn't get over the light coming from the evening sky and coming down into the mall, and the floors. Look at how 80s everything looks. This place has a really strong 1987 feel to it. There's a lot of marble, a lot of brass, a lot of glass, all those things that were like the epitome of 80s, like architecture and design and aesthetics. You know, they're all still here, and they haven't changed since 1987. So it's been 30 years. It's so great to see buildings kind of retain that vintage look. I love going to malls and seeing that. And here's a look at the food court from over the rail. It's really, I mean, very, very stunning looking. I was very impressed by how nice the plants were inside of this mall. And I actually read that this mall has an urban vegetable garden. I didn't see one while I was there. And I believe we were here maybe last year. I'm not quite sure when I was, or maybe it was this year. I can't really remember. But they do an urban garden inside. And if you think about it, this is just like a giant greenhouse. I had come to this mall back in 2005, and I remember it being more of a traditional mall at that time. It was retail, the food court was hopping, and they were open, it seemed later. Everything was open, because I remember I was there at night, and it was snowing really bad, but there were actually a lot of people in the mall at the time. And today it just feels more like an office almost. I love this very 2000s kind of hologram mobile. It's so cool. Here we are taking a look into one of the vacant retail spaces. I think there was about maybe a dozen of these kind of scattered throughout the mall. And oh, this planter with that flower foam and Spanish moss. So offensive. That offended me. I was deeply offended by Spanish moss and planters. I can't stand it. Yeah, this mall is so beautiful, very striking looking. And here we have Will going up. He's very upset. He's going up to the top. He's very upset. On to the next mall. So this is behind the mall, and what we're looking at right here is an abandoned go-kart track that looks like it's probably been closed up for at least a decade. And we're entering the mall here in the front. This mall had 3 anchors. So it had a Kmart, it had a Belk, and it had a Peebles. The mall opened in 1980, and the town of Eden is only about 15,000 people. So the mall at the time served the community where, you know, it was sort of these smaller communities would build these smaller malls as sort of a response to larger communities having larger malls. And back in the 80s and 90s, these malls could do very well. But these days, they're kind of relics of the past and just hanging on. And you can see there's some rules here. No congregating, which I think the mall would probably invite congregating at this point. You know I had to touch that pinwheel. I had to do it. Anyway, we're headed down the west wing of the Eden Mall. And this is where Belk used to be. So Belk was at the end here. And you can tell that it was Easter time because there's a lot of Easter decorations up in the mall. I'm surprised with the lack of crowds that come to this mall. I wouldn't even say crowds. I think they're lucky to get 10 or 15 people in here on a regular business day, that they would actually take the time to decorate for Easter. I wonder if they have an Easter bunny come and do like an Easter thing for the kids. Who knows? Anyway, you can see the disrepair here. There's a lot of maintenance problems. Ceiling has water leaking, and there's the old guest services desk with a treadmill in it. That would be interesting to see a guest services desk where the customer service rep is actually walking on a treadmill while giving you information, where to go in the mall. Where's Kmart? Oh, it's down there. All right, so here we are. This is in the east wing of the mall. So we're on the other side of the mall, and down at the end of this wing used to be a Kmart. Now, the Kmart at this mall has been closed for many, many years. So it's probably more than 2 decades it's been closed. This stand right here, I went on to the Eden Mall Facebook page, and that stand used to be a place called Dough Dogs. And I think that they served hot dogs that were wrapped in dough. Now, that didn't last very long, but on the website you can rent that space for $450 a month. And most of the spaces in this mall are available between $350 and $700 a month. So it's a cheap place to move your business into, but also I don't know how much business you'd actually get. I would be nervous, even with $450 a month, to actually make the rent, considering how many people probably go to this mall. It's probably not a lot anymore. And here's Santa Claus. I think that's one of those Anna Lee dolls. Is that what it's called, Anna Lee? I think it's called an Anna Lee doll. I think that's what that Santa Claus is. So that's a shot looking back towards Belk, and we're going to get a little look around this area, which used to be in front of the Kmart. And it's actually quite sad down this way. It's just very rundown looking. It looks like they were trying to do something, maybe some maintenance or something, and it just kind of stopped in the middle of the process. But you can see all those mattresses leaned up against the wall, and it's just doesn't look very good. And this fountain here, I don't know, it'd be kind of nice for them to turn the fountain back on. I know nobody would enjoy it. I certainly would. And I'm sure you would too. But it's not happening. And here's this fish tank catching water that's dripping out of the ceiling. Isn't that sad? Anyway, you guys, I really appreciate you watching. Make sure you check out the other episodes in the Dead Mall series. And I will see you at the mall. Well, I'll see you next time. Maybe not at the mall, but definitely next time. Thanks, everyone.
usually does, yeah, that's okay. So slide over here and give me a moment. Your moves are so raw, I've got to let you know, I've got to let you know. You're one of my kind.